The story of BRABUS Marine started in 2016. And now, 2022, a couple years later, it's become quite the thing. It's been a whirlwind of a ride, and I'm super happy that today I'm able to talk about how it happened, what exactly happened, and maybe what we're planning next, with the only person I can really talk about that, Janne Viitala, the co-founder of Axopar, and the brain behind the brand, my business partner, very good friend. Janne, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, thank you.
What happened? I mean, seriously, it's been, well, how many years? 15?
Yeah,
We started 15, 16?
15, 16, yeah, that is for sure. And
now it's 2022.
Time travels fast, so actually it's been a bit of a very positive roller coaster all along.
It's been a roller coaster,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But let us start off this way. The founding of Axopar, the start of Axopar.
Yeah.
When did it happen? How did it happen? And how did it, what started, as you said, it roller coaster and up to the point where we met?
I would say how we started the Axopar from the very beginning is that we're pretty devoted boaters, and we were more or less in the real beginning, before you even get that concept idea that, hey, this could be something that you could actually commercialize. So it was just like an idea that, how would your own personal dream boat look like? And what would you want to bring to us? I've been a boater since childhood. I think it's something to do with my DNA, being born up, living in a coastal town in Vasa in Finland, where everybody has a summer home. They go with boats for short drives, 10, 15, 20 minutes, but every weekend you are on a boat.
It's interesting because when you think boating, many people think Mediterranean or Florida, which are the biggest boating areas in the world.
Yeah.
But then,
actually,
of course, Norway, Scandinavia, Finland, Denmark, Sweden, they're countries that are big on boating.
Yeah, Finland is, I think, we have the most boats per capita in the world.
And the most beautiful landscape to go boating.
Yeah, but again, we then have a very short time window to go boating. We're faced with really cold weather, and we get ice over the ocean in wintertime.
But that makes you want to build boats that really work. When I first met you, I think in 2016, right? 2016.
Yeah.
I was surprised to find out that you'd had a lot of experience. Axopar wasn't just a young company, but the experience you had actually played a role in finding the name of the company.
Yeah, definitely. So I was co-founding two other brands in the past, so Exo and Paragon. Yeah. And the business partner who we founded Axopar with together was then also founder of Aquador. So from there, the letters became Axopar. So that's the story behind the whole name of the brand.
Interesting. And then I think when we met in 2016 at the boat Düsseldorf boat show, most important, still one of the most important boat shows in the world, you had just launched your first 37.
Yes, that was in 2016. The first Düsseldorf boat show we went to was in 2015. And then your father walks past on the stand, Stefan is there, and then he gets introduced to the 28. We only had the 28 then. And then after that, the next year, then he got the 37. But, right. in 2015, Stefan borrowed him a 28 here, and he loved the boat, and then he bought the 37 for 2016. That's the history.
I didn't know that part of the story.
Yeah.
To be very honest, because I got into the picture when my dad called me and said, I've been boating all my life, I've been on boats all my life, and a big part of that was together with my father, because that's one of the hobbies that we shared. I remember him calling me saying, let's go to Boat Düsseldorf 2016. Yeah. And I remember us walking on the show, finding the Axopar booth, and seeing a 37, including engines and everything, that was a lot of boat for the money back then. Yes. Had a very, still today, very interesting hull. Yeah. The hull technology, the way it's shaped, very interesting overall design, because it stood out from the crowd, because it's got sharp Scandinavian angles. It looked, at the time, it looked completely different from everything else, and we of course know how that's evolved today. The boats we build are very much in that tradition and continue down that road. And we ended up buying one.
Yeah, that I remember.
And that kicked off a whole new story with us taking the first 37 and driving everybody at Axopar crazy by trying to Brabusize it.
Yeah.
It turned out to become something that I would, from today's perspective, call a very early MVP, like a very early minimum viable product. But that's exactly what it was. We took a 37, we wrapped it in gunmetal gray, which set the precedent for everything else to follow, because back then, even then, they didn't choose black, which we of course don't use today for very specific reasons. And we put
400 racing engines on
400 racing, which back then was a novelty, a specialty.
Yeah, it was a no-go.
It was a no-go, and then I think I don't know who my father got in touch with first, but then he used to be, if he wanted something, he used to be pretty persistent about it.
He usually got it done.
And so we put wrapped it, put 400 engines on it. We
changed the seats.
Changed the seat color to red. Used the completely wrong material back then. And of course, now we have a material that works. And a couple of other things. I think inside it stayed, the cabin was as it was. It stayed completely normal. And of course, the boat and the engine weren't really properly adapted to what, like a 900 is today. Where we know from the start that the boat is going to be a 37 and a Brabus Shadow. So it was a fun project. But that turned out to be the start of something new.
Yeah, definite. And here we are today. It's been a low-flying development work with us, and let's say it this way: every single time I tell our engineers I'm going to meet up with Constantin, they go like, and brace yourself.
Gonna be work.
There's going to be work, but still for the great benefit of the brand. So what we've been doing together is the products we do today. The Shadow 900 is like the real grail of what we have achieved by Brabusizing the Axopar products to the teeth.
Still, when I walk into a harbor and I see a new boat, this week it's the Brabus Shadow 900 Deep Blue. It gives me pause, because I don't only see the new design, I see the 6 years of work that we've been putting into this. I see the evolution. I see the lucky punches. I see the nights that we spent on building it. I see the two of us.
Problem solving.
Exactly. I remember the two of us first sitting in a wood model. In Helsinki. In the design studio. And we would sit down and think, how can we Brabusize this boat? How can we, take this surface down, change this wall up, change the cushion setup, integrate a different sink, do all kinds of things to the interior that would take it from a premium product to a luxury product and really differentiate it from the Axopar 37. Because the only idea that we had was that the first boat we had, the minimum viable product, was a boat that was so different from it had a look so different from the 37. That we said, okay, well, I think we think we're onto something. And today, I honestly have to say, back then, it was 2 years before I became CEO because of the tragic passing of my father. And it was sheer luck that I was getting to know you guys and that I was being assigned to the project.
And I would say that was actually pretty critical, that with the sad passing of your father, I believe if it would have been anybody else in Brabus at that time who we would have had this dialogue with, this product range would never have happened. And I remember you calling me and say that this is what's happened, it's a tragedy, the whole company is mourning at the moment, but we're going to stay committed to what we have been discussing and planning, and we're going to go ahead with the Brabus Shadow. And that I remember the day you called me on that.
Yeah, that is probably true. It's easy in retrospect, look at it and say, oh yeah, that's how it went, and we were so smart and we had all these ideas. That's not how it was. It was a feeling, it was a hunch, it was the feeling, okay, can we transfer what Brabus stands for to a completely new product category? And can we do it with a partner who's on a roll? You were just, the Axopar story.
Was just taking off.
That is today one of the biggest growth and success stories in the industry of the last 6 years, of the decade, I think. Was just taking off. So we also got lucky in finding you as a partner because nobody knew.
And I would say that was a perfect timing also, because that was just at the right time where we also, as a company, make our philosophy for the future. What do we want to become? What do we want to achieve? What do we want to do with our product line? So I would say sometimes shit happens, but it happens for a reason. And this is more or less what we already set doing then is also what sets us for the future.
Yeah.
What was really going on in the beginning was that Bodo actually was really pushing forward for it. So he was really devoted and he was really dedicated to that, hey, he wants to do this and he wants to do this with us. And that's actually how he, in a way, even forced some projects to be more or less even pushed aside for the boat project. And I understand at that point it was even, considered a bit strange in BRABUS HQ that somebody comes and say, hey, we've been building cars for 40 years.
Yeah.
Let's make boats.
And of course we know where that went from there, until now 2022, where it's not even an issue anymore if we introduce a new product category.
It's a normal fusion. I think that the biggest change happened when we two connected. So I would say Bodo was super great in connecting people and we connected us. And
he opened the door.
He opened
the door, we picked up the ball and ran with it.
Yes. The whole Shadow 800 project from an idea to the launch took only, I think, like 6 or 7 months.
It was amazingly fast.
It was amazingly fast. And it was more or less that when we met and we decided let's do it, it was more or less 3 weeks later, we're in a boat, an Axopar 37 at the factory, with sample swatches and just going, okay, we changed this. So we actually ended up changing even, glass fiber modules and things on the first Shadow 800 just to make it super, super Brabus. So it was a very fast process from the beginning until the end, and I need to get credit for our workers at the factory. They really pushed through in making a boat
and I remember visiting the factory for the first time.
Yeah.
It's still what it is back then. Now we design in Helsinki, Vasa and Bottrop.
And we do this over virtual reality, we do this online, so real-time designing between all these HQs.
And then we manufacture in Poland.
And then we manufacture in Poland.
Anytime I call Janne, I know that it's one of the very few people in the world that are my very, very good friends that are as busy or busier than I am and that can relate to that. Now, and so that's why it's actually cool to sit down and talk about that history.
Yeah, and the problem is usually when we meet, we are at an event. So you're running the event in Adriano, I'm running the event in Kalanova, and just behind us, we have the world premiere of the Axopar 45. Yep. And if somebody would just now zoom into the boat, we have journalists on board. I should be there right now. These are the days that you feel relaxed when you see your product on the water and you see people enjoying it. And that is what rewards all the work, all the labor, all the, sorry to say, even the pressure I put on our staff just to make the events happen on time to the expectations we want. You and me think the same. When we get customers on our stands or we get customers to any event we have created, we always want them to feel surprised that they had a high expectation of what we are going to be producing, and I would still want them to go home and say, holy shit, I had high expectations. I had high expectations on the products. I had high expectations on what I'm going to see. I saw more. I love this company.
Yes,
and that is the sensation, the passion, the feeling behind it that I want people to leave any of our events. And that takes a lot of effort.
Yep.
And there are a lot of...
That makes for the fact we never have time to sit down and talk about this.
No, and that is exactly what happens. And pushing to do something 80%, you can do for free almost. That almost, if you just have the event organization and you build up, that's what you do. But it's the last 20% that is really sets apart any fine product you're doing, any luxury item, any, all the collaborations, the differentiation on the market and the competitiveness comes from those that push to the limit and push the extra mile.
I know. What I realized when you were telling it, because it's always funny when you hear somebody else tell the stories that you're normally telling, and I always learn something new when that happens, is I recognize now that it wasn't us looking for another brand, or that it wasn't Axopar going out to say, oh, BRABUS is a cool company in the automotive space. Let's put the brand values together and create something from a PowerPoint deck. It was boat enthusiasts meeting at a boat show, looking at a boat, ending up buying a boat, transforming it, individualizing it, as we today say, BRABUSizing, and then the company's connected. Today, that now I realize it makes it one of the best ingredients of the whole story. Because it is authentic. It is, this is what happened, and it makes it. To me, it makes it, I can. It's like I can touch it better. I can feel it better. What happened from that point onward? We launched the first product. We put it on the show in Düsseldorf. That was 2018, January of 2018. And we had one boat. And before that, I was talking to the team and I said, guys, we have this boat. If we sell one, if we sell two, we get a reaction from the market. It's fine. I think at that boat show, I don't know, maybe you know the number better. I think we sold something like 50, I would have said 15, 16 boats.
Holy shit.
Oh my God, it did, honestly, it did. I remember it doing two things. Number one, we were floored. We did not expect this at all. And it showed us that the message that we wanted to send, that BRABUS Marine is, as I say today, BRABUS Marine is the luxury sibling of Axopar.
With its own DNA, with its own core values, with its own identity and everything. And that's why how I so love to do these two. I would in a way even call them two separate brands, because an Axopar and a BRABUS really doesn't have that much in common when it comes to brand values and what the performance, technology, everything is.
Two sides of the same coin. Definitely. Absolutely. And that's, by the way, why very quickly afterwards, you called me and said, okay, it's the 150th person who has called me about the BRABUS boat. Let's drop the by Axopar and let's call it BRABUS Shadow 800, which is what we did. And it showed us, of course, that there was massive potential. And the second thing was, we sat down and we literally, I remember us having a meeting saying, okay, now we need to produce boats. How do we build boats? Where do we build boats? Do we build them in the same factory? Do we build them somewhere else? Do we have the space in the factory? And then plans started coming up for...
we started building our own production plant for BRABUS Marine, and there we are today. So we have today our own production plant where we build all the BRABUS Marine products ourselves.
I came to the manufacturing site the first time, and I remember walking in and going, where did this come from? Today I've had, since then I was lucky enough to have this moment a couple of times where you walk into something and an idea that you had materializes into a boat, a building. I just had this we're just doing a new CNC milling area. And just a couple of weeks ago I walk in and I go, on paper it was logical, it was the right decision. When you're standing, in some, I think this time was like a 5,000 square meter building, to house that idea. Again, this tells me why I do what I do, to transform those ideas. So we sold out very quickly, or we sold more than we ever thought we would. And then we had to build those boats, deliver them to customers, very quickly said, okay, this, we're onto something, let's build a second one. What's the story behind I think the next boat we did was the 500.
Yes,
right?
Yes, that was the next boat we did, the 500.
And that came out in?
2019, end of the year 2019. I think we pushed out in Monaco, if I remember correctly.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So
it's
another cool story that started for BRABUS. And it's a good example for what today I tell our team when we talk about the value of partnerships. Because what happens is you get introduced to so many new things. I have two good examples of that come to my mind immediately when I think about what's the benefit for BRABUS in terms of being one of the best partners of Axopar. It's number one, Monaco Yacht Show, because it started a story where, interestingly enough, not you were at Monaco Yacht Show, and we went and found that it's an incredible show that we're going to, that we've been going to since then. But none of us was at Monaco Yacht Show. But we said, okay, now that we have a luxury product, where do we represent it? And Axopar was traditionally present at the Cannes Boat Show.
I would say Monaco and Cannes differentiate themselves by the clientele. buying the
Exactly, so it's got a
products.
different feel to it, a different vibe to it. We said, okay, let's try Monaco Yacht Show. And it ended up being a benefit for you, it ended up being a benefit
Yes,
for
yes,
BRABUS,
for you.
and since then it has been a very stable part of our calendar.
Yeah.
The second story is the VR development that turned into the BRABUS configurator. So I know back then I wanted to do a digital configurator where people could do something that we thought for almost 30 years, and since the advent of digital, that we were not going to be able to do it. Because at BRABUS, we traditionally tell people, you can do everything when it comes to interior. The problem with that was that everything doesn't have a color. You know, when I tell you you can do everything, what comes to mind? Nothing. It's a question. Okay, tell me what I can do. And I've always wanted to do a configurator that would enable a client to spec his car, to design his own car. And the solution was different than we thought, because the solution was that I said, you know, I think we met in Helsinki again for the 47th time, designing, I don't know what, I think it was on the 900.
Yeah.
And then I asked the guys, can you also do cars? We're working in 3D, working, you know, with the goggles on, simulating boats in real time, but with correct data. Can we also do cars? And they said, okay, yeah, I think we can do so, let's try. And from that, now about 3.5, 4 years later, we have I think one of the best car configurators in the world as a family-owned business, not as one of the big OEMs or conglomerates that has, I think the last I heard was 22 million variations of designing your car, which is insane. And it came from that moment.
Yeah, it came from the collaboration.
And that is what partnerships mean to me. You get an influx of inspiration from a different partner that is professional but works in a different industry, maybe has some clientele that's an overlap to yours, maybe has a few things that are the same, but it's still different. And that has a value to me that goes way beyond the boats.
Yeah, and also on the other turn of the coin is that IAA was a good example, bringing the boats to a car show.
Very good example.
That is and I don't know anyone ever doing that.
Yeah. One of the coolest moments between that turned out to become something between you and me was IAA 2017, I believe, because we had a 300 SL Gullwing. BRABUS Classic, and you know what I'm getting at. BRABUS Classic, fully 6-star restored car, fantastic car, at the booth, and you and I were walking around. At some point I noticed Janne is, walking around the car, crawling under the car, is intensely fascinated by the car, and that was because of a very specific idea.
Yeah, and that ended up in the Gullwing doors on the Axopar 37 and the Shadow 900.
The 300 SL Gullwing, being the most iconic Mercedes-Benz from the 50s, has Gullwing doors, so doors that open up, rather than going to the side, or this way, like any normal car would. And the idea was, how can we put that principle to use on a boat? That turned out to be the project that was then the successor of the 800. Yeah. Because we had then just launched the 800. You were already working on the successor, which actually is another thing that tells us that we were super lucky in getting
timing right.
The timing right. And it's like, when do you meet somebody? When do you start a project? It was right place, right time for a lot of those things for us. Yeah. And that feature ended up being integrated into the 900, turning out to be the Gullwing doors in the front of the boat that open up and make the front cabin that was a good cabin, but also a dark hole in the front of the boat. Opens it up and gives you a completely different use case for the whole front of the boat.
I need to give credit. The first seed of the idea came from our designer Jarkko. So he planted the seed, and more or less I'm usually the no guy first until I understand why.
Sometimes you need to be the no guy.
Yeah, and then more or less. So that was why the 300 SL was so intriguing, and the idea of how can we do things like this, and then once you get the idea. Then you're all in.
Absolutely. So Jarkko, if you see this, first Gullwing doors on a boat.
Thanks. You see on the Axopar 45 a myriad of new innovations, and that of course will be maybe something then that will be seen in the future, Brabusized and even taken further. So that's actually a really good collaboration we're doing
I
together.
think we might see the 45 Brabusized at some point. Could happen, let's say that.
All the development work we do in Axopar, we always now run parallel the Brabus products side by side. So any new product that is coming out from the Axopar portfolio, we always have the Brabus development coexisting from the very first pencil drop.
And that is, of course, something that we can do today. We can now design boats to be both an Axopar and a Brabus from the start.
Yeah.
And that means, for example, we know we're going to have different sets of engines on the boat.
And
we know we're going to have different sets of equipment on the boat.
Yeah, and we know also our customers, and we know our customers' wishes,
Yeah.
and we know what they want us to emphasize on in a Brabus product. And I would say that's the skill, and that's the really good feedback we've got from customers during these years of Brabusizing or building the BRABUS Marine products. Is the feedback we get from our customers, their wish lists more or less that we're happily to tick in order to make a great product even better.
How would you describe the Axopar customer versus the Brabus customer today?
These two customers are two different customers. They have two different needs or requests coming out, or goals out of their own dream boat. With Axopar, we see a wide variety of clientele. We see anyone from being a new boater getting into, or a customer getting into his 10th or even 15th boat in his lifespan. So we see a myriad of different customers, but to me, which is really interesting, is also that we see the same with the BRABUS Marine products. So we have new boaters that have, because of the BRABUS Marine product, we've been able to convince them on trying boating. And that is what Axopar is in the very initial place. We want people on the water. We want to introduce people to boating. And that has been our mission from the very beginning. And we see that even with BRABUS Marine products, we keep on doing that. So the clientele, even if there are two different layers of clientele, the wishes and the motivations for both clientele is always the same. They want to spend their best time on the water, they want to have new experiences, they want to have a product that can fulfill their expectations. And in that sense, we've now fulfilled this for the luxury clientele with the BRABUS Marine, and then for the premium clientele for the Axopar.
And what I think is the most interesting when I look at it, it is not the fact, or is rarely the fact, that an Axopar 37 by design and by necessity has a lower price tag than a Brabus Shadow. I don't know, it was the boat 19, boat 2020, boat Düsseldorf was obviously played a big part in this. And we had an Axopar display, a very big Axopar display, and a bigger, slightly, that was 2020, grown up Brabus display. Yeah. And you could see that one display was white boats, bright boats. Yep. They were premium boats, but still have today a very utilitarian. That's not a judgment at all. A very utilitarian focus. Yep. You want people to go out. You call yourself the adventure company today. Yes. And the other side of the flip side of the same coin was the Brabus Marine display, where you had almost exclusively what people call the black boat, which is in reality the gunmetal gray Brabus Shadow Black Ops, as we call it today. It was black boats that were super elegant, sporty, aggressive, very luxurious. Yes. And the question was, how much, what is the best possible quality, the most luxury I can get out of that boat?
What's the highest tech?
What's the highest tech? What are the most features I can get in a boat? And that made for two completely different packages. Yes. Because of course Brabus brings the urban design side of what we're doing. Yeah. Of our luxury brand today is what we pushed also into the design of the boats, and that is interestingly making it two completely different packages.
Yeah, definitely.
Still today, and you had the result was that you had one person going straight to the Axopar display and another person going straight to the Brabus Marine display, and rarely do you have the person that really compares. because either an Axopar 37 speaks to you or a Shadow 900 speaks to you, either an Axopar 28 speaks to you or a Shadow 500 speaks to you, depending on your perspective on things.
Having two boats parked next to each other and you looking at them, you go on the Axopar 37 and you see that this is a properly, nicely built, premium, high quality boat. But the moment you step on board a BRABUS Shadow, now for example, I would say the best comparison would be going from a cross cabin to a cross cabin, or a Suntop to a Shadow 900, the deep blue, for example. When you see the amount of massive labor or hours we put more on the boats with the painting scheme.
How much more would you say it is today?
We're talking about tripling or quadrupling the assembly hours that go into making those details.
It's massive, because people still think we are, it's just like a tuning package.
Yeah,
and
so
that isn't, or kind of a a marketing trick.
Yeah.
And that isn't. It couldn't be further from the truth.
No.
Because I know we regularly have intense
and you probably
discussions.
have this with the cars. The same. So this is not an upgrade. You cannot upgrade things to the level we do with the Shadow products. This is something you have to do from the scratch. You have to do it from the beginning, and you can only use the best materials available, and you need to have the best skilled persons to do it. Otherwise, you will never achieve the quality level you have for the product.
And it's a testament to that is the fact that I've always been the one to say, let's produce it in the same line for economic reasons. I make it viable. And maybe that's going to change in the future, but we haven't gotten that done because they're just too different. But we share the same hull.
Yes.
We share the same basic deck structure, but from then on it goes into two completely separate ways in terms of surfaces, finishes, feature integration, feature premieres.
Yeah. I would say this is a full analogy on what the automotive business have been doing for decades, which has never really been done on the marine side ever.
There were so many things that I knew from the automotive industry. Platforms.
Yes.
Or what we say exactly, Gleichteile-Strategie, you would say in German. So using the same components in products of different brands.
Yes.
Nobody did that. So in a way, I found the boating industry, which I love, to be 15, maybe 20 years, maybe 25 years behind in that area of strategically collaborating brands and brands and manufacturers branching out into different products than the car industry. And I think that is because of higher volumes. In the car industry, you've got massive volume. So the technology you have to develop is extremely expensive. And that, of course, creates a huge incentive to start to search for ways to use that technology in as many cars as you can. And today, it's essentially the same. What does it give us? We share a hull. That gives us more boats to pay the bills. That gives us better technology. That gives us better build quality. That gives us more repetitiveness, as you said, and overall a higher quality and a better boat. So I never understood why nobody else was doing that.
It's probably some companies get caught up in the wheel of just doing things in the old traditional way they've done in the past, and that was more or less one of the main reasons why we even founded Axopar in the first place, to really challenge the norm and really challenge the basic status of a very status quo industry, all in all. So not only challenging the how we build a boat, but but also how we market the product, how we build the boat in a way of componentry, modularization, how we can repeat things in production to make it more efficient, and also to drive costs down for the benefit of our consumers. The quality-wise also, but then also when it comes to hydrodynamics, fuel efficiency, drivability, all of these things. So we more or less started from a complete clean slate, just to build the best product we ourselves believe is the best product on the market, and just staying focused and committed on doing that and repeating. And if you make a mistake, fix the mistake, do it again, do it over, get it better, improve and evolve.
And do it with every single new boat, which is another thing that I found to be different in Axopar. So overall, I can say that Axopar turned out to be, our partnership turned out to be the ideal partnership, a complete lucky shot. For the development that it took, where it began and how it could develop. Today, I use it as an example for the development of Brabus overall. We started the smart business, so working with smart cars in 2000.
Yep.
You know, we combined our brand with an OEM to create an exclusive, oftentimes limited, but in this case, very large-scale product selling hundreds of thousands of vehicles over the next 20 years.
Yeah.
Today, I always say, we went to the restaurant, we received a dish from the kitchen, and we ate the dish, and we liked the dish.
Yep.
The dish being the business model. And we produced exclusive smart cars for 20 years, over 20 years.
Yeah.
When BRABUS Marine happened through our partnership, we again went to that restaurant, combined, you know, we brought some ingredients with us, and somebody added something to it, we received a dish from that kitchen. But this time, what we understood was, we started asking, is there a recipe? And BRABUS Marine very clearly showed us that as a brand, we could take a DNA from one product segment and actively ask ourselves the question, how can we take that DNA and bring it to a different sector, bring it to a different product segment. And today, of course, we know that we've done that a couple of times. We've done the latest example being the Brabus 1300 or the motorbike.
Yeah.
And that was clearly another benefit of our partnership. When you partner up with somebody who brings new inspiration ideas, it kicks off ideas. It makes you better. It makes you more resilient. It makes you progress. And that is why I love that.
Just looking at what we have done as more or less internally in our companies, the skill sets we've been able to take from you, how you manage projects and how you manage developments, taking this from your automotive perspective, being able to take that into our marine environment, how we operate internally within our company. And we've done it. So marketing wise, how do we do our websites? How do we do communications? How do we do events? All of this, we have like
That's a very good example.
open sparring between and
it's really open sparring. The website is such a good example, or the ways we market, because
which is actually going to be launched in.
It's exactly. We're just doing a new website again, and the fun. Why that makes me laugh is because people think, okay, they found each other, the teams like each other, they're building, and they're building great products, and now they're riding into the sunset. This is not how the story goes. The story is, as you said, it's open sparring a lot of times.
Yeah.
With first close encounter with the Finnish culture.
Yeah.
It's a bit like a bear encounter or something. First of all, you're meeting people that are very direct. You're meeting people that know exactly what they want, and you're meeting people that tell you exactly what they want, and that this has and is resulting in a very open communication style. That I think sometimes when our teams come together and you and I spar about ideas, they think, okay, I think they're going to start hitting each other, and that sounds bad of it, but it's exactly. It turns out to be exactly what we need each time, because that is also that is what a partnership means. It means you've got somebody on the other side who's got an idea and stands for that idea. And then mostly, let's take an example. I'm pushing for more luxury in the products and the marketing. Yeah. I'm pushing for better picture quality. I'm pushing for, good example, more features in the boat.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, you'll be sitting and saying, got to keep the price, got to keep the manufacturing rolling, have to produce this many boats. Yeah. No can do.
The technology is not there yet.
Exactly.
What we want to, we need to give it another year. let's get it to evolve.
But that is exactly how we progress.
We both know as a company, but as a person, but also as the staff within our company, we both know what we want to achieve.
Yes.
We have set our own goals, but we can we have a great culture together, and that is what I think how we can really make progress and how we get these projects done on time and getting them out to our customers.
Even though sometimes 4 days before or 5 days before, a week before, it looks as if the world is going to explode.
Yeah, I've always had the saying to our internal staff that there is no matter how much shit we have to do until a grand opening, a premiere or whatever, Let's get it done. But at 10 o'clock, if the show opens at 10 o'clock, 9:55, everything needs to be pristine, everything needs to be up in order. And before that, more or less, people are running like crazy, but we all do it for the common goal, we all do it for the brand, we all do it by passion. Yeah. But at some points, yes, we are pushing ourselves to the extreme, but that is also what makes the company evolve. And people, I would say sometimes you need to face yourself a small challenge, because overcoming that challenge also gives you a satisfaction. We accomplished this, we made this happen. Look at the happy customers. It gives you a great satisfaction or a level of joy internally that keeps you pushing for the next time. And let's do it the next time over and over again.
Absolutely. This is what we're going to do now, because Palma Boat Show is starting in 2 days.
Yes.
And we've got a display to finish and a world premiere, several actually, tomorrow night. So last question, what do you think we'll be talking about when we sit down 3 years from now?
Ooh, that's a good question. That can go into a lot of different directions. I would say technology-wise, we will probably be talking potentially about a new way of propulsion. Design-wise, we will see evolution of our products.
We'll stay true to ourselves, but I think that we're going to see some new stuff. It's interesting because now with the 45, we've sort of reached the limit of what we had as a fantasy, if I may call it that, because we were talking from the beginning. We were talking, 37 is going to be a core product for us for the time to come. 28. Now 25, the first ship we intentionally designed to be trailerable. Then now the 45, and that was initially the end of what we planned to be, because I remember us talking about which segment of the boating world we were wanting to move into, and we both said the same thing. It's that in a world where you have the prestige being in the big boats, the business is in the small boats, because that's where you can have, I always say there's two types to design boats. There's the prototype way, where you finish up a boat in production, and there's the industrial design way. And we wanted to go down the second route. And that repetitiveness, that volume, you can only get in that segment. And so the 45 for us, which by the way is the right approach, I'm a big believer still today, the 45 was sort of the end of our line. Can you imagine us going? It's an open question. I don't know. So 3 years is a long time.
3 years is a long time. I would say it in this way. Nobody should feel safe that our companies are not going to do anything.
Yeah. Oh God, I feel ideas. This is going to turn to work.
Yeah.
Okay, I never asked that question.
Yeah.
Guys, we have a world premiere to attend. Janne, this has been fun, and we should do it again.
Yeah, we should definitely do it again.
3 years, that makes it the 26th of April, 2025.
Okay, so we need to set that date.
Set the date, guys. We'll be back. Janne, thank you very much.
Yeah.